Yeah, I might just start filming.
Hey y'all, it's Keels for Reels, and lately we've been thinking about how many animated movies have been adapted into stage shows. However, very rarely do we see stage shows adapted into animated musicals. I could ask why this is, but I think we all know it has something to do with biases regarding animation and how it's not taken seriously in the eyes of the general public, and believing that live action / realism makes things more mature or go better. But I'm not here to talk about that. So after careful consideration, I've come up with 10 shows that I think would make great animated musicals. But here's a few things to keep in mind before we get started.
Number 1, while I try to be as unbiased as possible, my own opinions and preferences will inevitably have an influence. Number 2, I strongly believe animation does not automatically equal for kids, and that's a belief I'm carrying over to this list. And while some of these might be fun for the whole family, it is not a requirement in order to be considered. Though I do think shows with a more fantastical side do lend themselves better to the unlimited artistic possibilities that animation provides. Number 3, previous movie adaptations won't disqualify anyone, but can influence one's placement on the list since that show's journey to the big screen has been explored before. Number 4, I prefer more modern shows. Sorry, old school fans. And number 5, I have not seen every musical known to man. Sorry, I just haven't.
And for this episode, I'll be showcasing some amazing artworks made by some very talented people, all of which will have their social media handles and links down in the description. So without further ado, let's get to the list.
Number 10, Into the Woods. This classic Sondheim show involves multiple fairy tale characters going through their stories, but with the twist of having those stories intertwine. Nowadays, fairy tale crossovers are fairly familiar to most audiences, so it's easy to see how it could be adapted, but maybe a little too easy, which is why it's here at number 10. Because for me, this choice is just a bit obvious. Just think about how many fairy tales with a twist have become animated features over the years. But I've always found Into the Woods' interpretation of it really fascinating and distinct, despite the concept becoming more common over the years. And I think a cartoon saloon animation style could really match the intricate and interwoven nature of the Sondheim score, and can also help drive home the whimsy of their fairy tale world. Which, side note, I'm looking over the script, and I mention the studio a lot in this video, but that's because they do such a good job and it should be acknowledged. Also, for personal amusement, I think Milky-White should be the one character whose style doesn't match the rest of it. Because he's always the weird one out, so maybe make him CG, or just draw a person wearing a cow outfit. Sorry. Anyways.
Hope he's flying.
Number 9, the 25th Annual Putnam County Spelling Bee. This show about a group of kids competing in their local county spelling bee sounds a lot more cuter and innocent than it may seem. It's actually a show aimed at an older audience, with some of its adult humor, innuendos, and the fact that these kids are all kinds of traumatized makes me think it wouldn't be fit for a G audience, though I know there's toned-down productions available for schools. Regardless of demographic, an animated adaptation could really have fun with the imagination of these kids, and play to the more high-stakes and high-strung personalities of all of these colorful characters. Wacky hijinks, hilarious bits, and a song that rips your goddamn heart out. This is a great show that could benefit from a great animated adaptation. Number 8, The Wiz. The Wiz is a modern retelling of the classic children's book, The Wizard of Oz, in which a humble farm girl finds herself swept away into a magical land of talking animals and witches, but with a black-focused narrative and music score. This, I think, practically writes itself. You've already got the fantasy element with the magical land of Oz, but it's already been reimagined from its source material, so you'd have a lot of creativity to work off of. The music is very groovy and 70s inspired because, that's when it was made, so I think a fun, flower power, color palette, and set design would be an obvious choice here. It also has nostalgic recognition, both with the stage show, the Diana Ross movie, and its original source material. I believe The Wiz could make a colorfully joyous animated movie that would invite a new generation to ease on down the road. Number 7, Matilda. Author Roald Dahl has always had a knack for taking everyday things and twisting them into parodies, caricatures, and commentaries of the people and systems we encounter on a daily basis. Matilda takes the idea of kids trying to navigate the world of adults and filters it through a more exaggerated lens. And having a girl as small and brilliant as Matilda dealing with loud parents, dumb rules, and overbearing principals makes it pretty easy to see how this world could translate well into the animated medium, especially with the added benefit of songs. Songwriter Tim Minchin gave the Matilda musical a kind of funky and jaunty score, and it's one that fits the tone of the source material so well that translating it to animation could further highlight the fun and mischievous antics that Matilda and co get into. These characters have always been pretty out there, so I think using very cartoony and exaggerated designs would fit perfectly. The animation itself could get more zany during the more exaggerated songs, and maybe more flowing and gentle in the more grounded ones. And yeah, I know they're already planning on making this a Netflix movie, but I still think that an animated adaptation for Matilda the Musical is a must. Number 6. Once on This Island.
What if The Little Mermaid took place on an island, and instead of being about a fish and a human, it was about races using classism and then people died? Sounds like a winner to me.
At the time of recording this, they are planning on making a Disney Plus adaptation, which I guess is a thing now with streaming services? But that doesn't mean it can't be adapted for animation at some point in time. With the tropical colors, lively music, and a fairy tale-like atmosphere that incorporates other cultures and poignant messages, I can see this becoming a very lovely 2D film. They can even have a lot of fun with the art styles. I could see something like cartoon saloon style being put to good use here, or maybe a geometric Mary Blair style. Due to its Little Mermaid similarities, I could definitely see them trying to gear this one more towards the family-friendly demographic, and wanting to alter the ending since the show's ending is, more faithful to its source material. Which, I don't know, what would you guys think of that? Leave a comment down below. But regardless of demographic, it's not hard to see why Once on This Island would make a beautiful animated musical. Number 5. Cats.
Okay, so, like I mentioned in my video prior to the release of that, I had stated that I'm not really a big fan of the musical Cats. And while I don't fully understand why its originals fans loved it as much as they did, I will admit that there are aspects of it that are pretty well done. And I'm not a heartless bitch. If you enjoyed the original show, you deserve a good movie adaptation. And you know what? You guys almost got it.
Yeah, bet you didn't know in the 90s, Steven Spielberg, with the help of his production company Amblimation, were planning on making an animated Cats movie. There's concept art, character designs, and even test animations that you can find online. And it's all really well done. Just looking at this, you can already get the idea of how well this would work. The animation could have really supported the surrealism and non-existent plot of Cats in a way that a live-action movie just never could. At least, to me. The issue of the non-existent plot was the Achilles heel to this production, and kind of the main reason it never got made, so there's that. But to me, I think the biggest thing that wouldn't work to its advantage is the dancing, which I've always felt was one of the few saving graces of the show, and I doubt you could fully pull it off with animation. But I still believe that a unique and imaginative 2D adaptation could still be accomplished. Besides, anything's gotta be better than that. Number 4. Heathers. But Keely, you said fantasy-based musicals would make better adaptations, so why is the show about killing high schoolers so high on the list? Because you're not thinking big enough. Now look, there are a good amount of Heathers animatics and fan arts floating around the internet, and they're really well done, but not many of them touch upon the 80s aesthetic, because the characters, plot, and dialogue are pretty 80s. And I think the musical took parts of that 80s-ness from the movie because they knew the novelty of it was part of the appeal. So I say if you're going to adapt it into an animated movie, make it as stylized and dramatic as you can. Imagine this bomb-ass music with these amazing animatics and bright neon colors, maybe even throw in a comic book style, and you've basically got a 2-hour-long animated music video. If Into the Spider-Verse is any indication, a heavy comic book aesthetic could look super cool and retro. Although this would be less superhero and more Archie comics? And maybe a bit more of an edgy Archie comic. Oh no, not like that. No, wait!
If you like the juice, go play duck, duck, goose.
Stop! Dear God, why? Why? Anyways, a Heathers movie could have an A+ aesthetic with a super stylized and, lack for a better word, edgy look that I think would make for one hell of a movie-going experience. Number 3, Hadestown. I was actually first introduced to this show a few years ago when I came across an amazing animatic set to the song Way Down Hadestown. And my first thought was, yo, this reminds me of Over the Garden Wall. Please check out my AMV on Tumblr. And then my second thought was, yeah, this would lend itself really well to animation. I mean, it's a Greek myth set in the Depression era, with Americana folk music about a guy going to hell and back to save his wife, quite literally, while these two ancient gods of life and death are struggling to rekindle their love along with their senses of selves, and dear God, this is just begging to be turned into a piece of visual art. Hades himself thinks so too. My first thought for an animation style would be something similar to the underrated Disney short film, John Henry. The sketchy, rustic look could be a really good stylistic match for the music, or make it even more stylized like Cartoon Saloon style. God, they are underrated too, so y'all check these both out, you hear? And thematically, while there's nothing overtly inappropriate for families, the overall tone and heaviness of this Greek tragedy pretty clearly indicates this one should be aimed at an older audience. Overall, I think the show's earthy, mystical style could translate beautifully into a piece of moving art, one that can spirit the audience away down under the ground. Number 2, Beetlejuice. This one is practically begging to get an animated adaptation. I mean, it's based off of a Tim Burton film. Tim Burton, originally an illustrator known for his crazy gothic designs that has been put to animation many times before to significant success. Movie Beetlejuice already had a cartoon series in the late 80s, and recently musical Beetlejuice made an appearance on Teen Titans Go. There's even fan animatics on YouTube being made by professional working animators that I didn't get permission to include, but they are there. My God, someone please just take my money already. Despite having a rocky run on Broadway, it's developed quite a cult following, and it's not hard to see why. It's the story of a demon named Beetlejuice trying to come into the mortal world and the grieving goth girl Lydia who helps him out. It's about death, the supernatural, unadulterated chaos, and the difficulties of dealing with change. But overall, it's a horror musical comedy, which you really don't see a lot of. Just imagine the crazy imagery and the trippy-ass song sequences you could have. It could be the definition of chaotic evil, and that's something only the power of 2D animation could achieve. What more can I say? It's Beetlejuice. Actually, I will say one more thing just in case you're not sold just yet. What if it was brought to life by the same team who did Has Been Hotel and Hell of a Boss? Boom. Mic drop. And my number 1 completely unbiased pick for the Broadway show that would make the best animated movie musical is Wicked. You know, I might just be a little bit biased on this one, so I really try to think as objectively as possible. But you know what? Objectively, I think this could be a god tier no, not you. This could be a god tier animated movie musical right there. This musical is about the Wicked Witch of the West and Glinda the Good Witch, and what their lives were like before the events of The Wizard of Oz, revealing their unlikely friendship and their struggles with being stuck in the box society has made for you versus trying to break free and forge your own path. They are some of the most memorable characters Broadway has to offer, and they deserve a high-budget animated adaptation. The set and costume designs already look like illustrations come to life. Plus, the aforementioned fantasy setting could lead to some gorgeous visuals. And yeah, we already have an Oz-based property on this list, but these are 2 drastically different aesthetics and stories. There's been so much beautiful art and animatics made over the years that it's impossible not to picture it as this lush, high-quality animated masterpiece that could be like a dream from your childhood coming to life, with a hint of goth nightmare to spice things up. Think of the intricate backgrounds, the character designs, putting these show-stopping songs to mind-bending artistic renderings. I mean, my god, who do I have to give my money to? Yeah, clearly this is a show I am very passionate about, but when your story has magical witches, talking animals, and an examination of moral ambiguity, I can see the creative possibilities being unlimited. Also, I've done way too many of my own artistic renderings to not care deeply about an animated Wicked movie. It's something I truly believe could inspire a new generation of artists and theater goers alike for years to come.
And that's my list, but I'd love to hear your thoughts. Leave a comment down below which musical you would most like to see translated into an animated adaptation. And did you like the art in this video? You bet you did. I have links to everything down in the description so you can check out these amazingly talented artists. I cannot thank them enough for letting me use their art in this video, so thank you again, guys. Thank you. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to my stuff and the artist stuff, and I'll see you guys later. Keels for Reels? A few things to keep in mind before we get started. Like, remain seated please at all times. What are you doing, girl?